Hello, Greco. 20 months. Wild. Matthias, hello. Josh, hello. Julian, hello. Bit more palatable temperature today. So back to physics. I think I've got to change the Twitch title. Let me just check. Yes, I did, because I don't know what I'm doing. Physics. Done. That's fine. Actually, I'm glad someone is watching on phone, Matthias, because I have a question related to the setup that I want to know how it works on mobile, so hang tight. Harisha, hello. Alex Horo? Hello. No, not yet. I'm still waiting. I want to vertical stream. I want to hoover up those sweet vertical views, but I have not been upgraded on the YouTube backend yet to be able to use a separate stream, to be able to have a separate stream key for the vertical stream. So at the moment, YouTube kind of gives it a good go, and it just takes the middle slice, which is absolutely useless for code. So once I get that upgraded in the back end, then I can duplicate all my scenes in OBS and have proper vertical versions of them all. Lohani, I'm glad that helped. Twitch too interesting. Okay, I think it's more for just because people. It's more for discoverability because discoverability on streaming is generally considered pretty shit, right? Like Twitch is like, unless you're in the bar at the top, like the top 3 or 4, like no one's finding you, and YouTube has no real way of recommending people streaming really. But streaming on YouTube Shorts is actually quite discoverable. It will just intersperse live streams it thinks you're interested in as you scroll. So that's really one I want to tap into. But I think you've got to, if you're going to do, yeah, exactly, build an audience off stream and bring it to the stream, which is basically what I did. But I think if you're going to do vertical streaming, especially with code, you've got to try and do it right. And I think it's got to have at least attempt to make it kind of readable, legible. So I'm just waiting for that. Like every day, not every day, that's like every day before I stream, I check the little button to say dual stream, and then I was like, oh, can I add a new stream key? And it's like, no. I'm like, okay. Video recommendation is excellent. Like YouTube's recommendation album is actually pretty good, and I get, if I look at my analytics, like a lot of people get recommended my videos and find them, which is really good. And that's really, I optimize for browse, right? I optimize for the algorithm pushing my video to you rather than search based. But for streaming specifically, it's not very good. Yeah, and YouTube Shorts is great. Got great discoverability. YouTube Shorts, YouTube Shorts is just how I double dip on content, right? Spend a couple of hours streaming, cut up to some shorts, like it's just free content. So, which has largely led to the joke that these streams are now really just there in order to generate short form content. But here we go. Right, okay, so first of all, I've gone back to the old setup where I don't have the server client tmux because I want that smoother scrolling. I want the better like screen distribution, but I'm experimenting making the font size just a little bit smaller so it's more readable. So I'm curious to know, is this readable for people? Pardon, hello. Like, is this legible? Can we work with this? Okay, but readable on desktop, that's good. I'm kind of interested in people who on phone, because on mobile phone, whatever you want to call it, because yeah, okay, fine, because this is workable for me. So I think this is kind of, we might try this. Also, I've been tweaking my setup a little bit, so I've been experimenting with some new like command line tools, but also to keep things more visually interesting, the build screen has now changed. So now we have a CPU usage, so we can see that. And then I know my big ball dome's in the way, but it will just randomly grow a little bonsai tree as we build, which I think is quite nice. Give you something to look at during the long builds. Okay, someone said it could be smaller. We'll keep it as this, but then we'll experiment with it. And obviously, like, if we when we get the explosion of errors, I can just zoom this out. Right, it's one of the nice things about tmux is your control sequence Z will pop it out to the whole screen, so that's nice. So it means also like where am I? Careful. Oh, that work. I'm glad I did that. Might need to just quit this and grow a new tree. Okay, cool. Okay, right. So let's check everything still runs. And I'm still sticking with the full screen game exe because it just makes my life so much easier. And I know you can't see all the ImGUI text, and I do apologize for that. It's unfortunate. I think that just might be a sacrifice we have to make for now, because this just makes my life so much. Being able to see it on this 42-inch screen, like all here with the editor around, as we're starting to do more stuff with the editor, is a bit of a game changer. Do I get to use the latest C++ version in Injury? Yes, I don't talk too much about like my professional life, but we are up to date with pretty much the latest. I've switched to proper fade, but maybe we'll bring the zoom back for some things. It's quite funny. Okay, so we got this, and then we can add a rigid body to it, and then you can see here the rigid body goes here, and then this moves around with it, and this scales with the parent. So this is anchored to the parent. What we need to do now is, what today's plan is, when we click an entity with rigid bodies, it should enumerate them on the right. You will not be able to see that, but I will be able to see that. Is it possible to add an OBS scene to zoom in a section? Possibly. I'm not an OBS expert, to be honest. I just ask the Oracle, and it kind of tells me what I should do. So I've offloaded a lot of my reasoning about stream setups to an LLM. But basically, I want to enumerate here the things. I should be able to select them, and when I select them, I should get a widget on that specifically, and then from there I should be able to set the local transform. So basically, now that I've added this rigid, I don't know why I'm pointing at the screen like you can see it, what an absolute burk. This rigid body here, I should be able to independently move with respect to the parent, but then the parent should still translate it. That's the end goal. If we can get that done today, and we can get it done for multiple rigid bodies, like we are basically there for building out the level. Thank you. It was good fun doing it. As I said in the video, I find it very hard to ignore buffer overflow, even if it is one that I have to kind of contrively trigger. It's kind of good fun to write to play around with some shellcode. Okay, so we have the goal. We have the goal for today. Let's see if we can achieve it. Like, I do appreciate a lot of streaming is kind of set up for gaming, but there is still a lot you can do to try and make the tech side of it a bit more interesting. I think as well, like if you're kind of willing to play around a little bit with the settings and write some scripts and stuff like that, you can get quite a lot out of it. Yes, it was the level. That was the level. Okay, so we've got set parent transform. So I think the first thing we need to do is, before we wire it into the rigid body, we need to get that list in the debug render. So we have to go to like my least favorite bit of the code, which is add rigid body, and then I think we have to go something like, do I want a button for each one? I guess I probably do want a button for each one to be like select it. I don't know if there's a better way of doing it, but let's start with that. So let's do for const auto handle in, where are we? We are in, oh, hang on, turn all that shit off. Selected entity, no, so it's just entity now, isn't it? Entity, ooh, do I not have a, okay, oh no, okay, fine, first change. Let's go to entity. So in here we have add rigid body, but we should also have a const explorer auto rigid bodies, const stirred span. I'm gonna make it const, not really make much of a difference, but I think it would just make the rest of the code work nicer. Something like that. Do I have span? I do have span. Okay. So we need a way of getting the rigid bodies so we can enumerate over them. And again, like we store the rigid bodies as a vector, which means we can return a span. So that is no copying. That is kind of the pretty modernish C++ way of returning, like, rather than returning a const ref to a vector, we can just return a span to it. Yeah, Discord is probably the best way to make a suggestion. Again, I can't make any promises if and when I'll get around to it, but that's probably the best way. Right, so let's do average of bodies, and then do entity. So in theory, this always goes wrong, but I should just be able to return rigid bodies, and that should get type reduced to a span, which is really nice. That's sort of, let's just check that builds. One of my cores is going ham. Okay, cool. Okay, so now we can do for const auto hand. Oh, does it even be a const ref? No, handles are cheap to copy, right? So it should just be for auto handle in entity rigid bodies. Okay. Hello. And then we should be able to do, I don't know, like if imgu. I'm not like a UX designer, by the way, so you'll have to just bear with me as I kind of like fumble my way through. Button text equals std format. Select. Select. So actually, let's do rigid body that, and then we're going to do const. So this is now going to be const auto. Is it index handle? Instead views enumerate. I don't know which way around it goes. Okay, fine. CIB, yeah. Context dot Cstra. So that same as another bit of Mon C++ for you. This views enumerate allows you to go through a collection and not only get a reference to each element in the collection, but also the index of it. So it just keeps the bookkeeping nice and tight. Can a module use C++26 and a C++11 module use? What's the C++11 module? Modules came in 20, so... Do you mean modules, the replacement for header files, or are you using modules as more of an abstract? So module has a specific meaning in C++ from 20 onwards, so I don't know if you mean that, or as in just a library. It really depends on what they're compiled with. The version is kind of largely irrelevant because C++ tries very much not to break ABI. So at least so they did break the ABI in 11 with some of the string stuff. But yeah, if they're compiled with the same compiler and version, then yes, that's fine. Compilers are obviously free to break backwards compatibility themselves. Like MSVC, probably pretty good, different versions. GCC and Clang, you'd have to try it. This is one of the big problems with C++, right, is that the interoperability between random bits of library is kind of not well defined, but it very much could work, shall we say. I'm not an expert on the nuances of that because I tend to just build everything from source, so I don't have much of an issue. 23 print ln, right? That's a pretty big one. Like the fact that I can do std print ln, like some var, massive. 23 is deducing this. So what's a good example of that? Self. Where have I used this? These. Give me a second. I'll find it in a second. Here. So I have access to this. Is not a particularly great example because there's a lot of type inference and stuff, but it allows me to do that. But this gives me explicit access to this variable, which does a lot of interesting deduction stuff. So I can query this here to see whether I was called on a const or not, and then do different things, and it just removes boilerplate. Makes CRTP easier if you're interested in that. And then 26, like reflection, right? That's going to be the main one. So YAML serializer. We can do stuff like we can serialize a class, and then we can now iterate over all of its members at runtime, compile time. We can go through all the members in a struct, and we can pull those out. We can splice those into, in this case, a YAML object, and then we can iterate, and then we can kind of recurse through those, and then you can do fun stuff like automatically serialize enums by iterating through all the members and stuff like that. So that's, and then the other one is probably contracts. So that word we use contracts. We use contracts in program. So now we can do, now we can be explicit about our preconditions and postconditions on function calls. So like this, when you call this constructor, these must hold. Oh, and embed. Oh, great, yeah, embed as well. So that's embedded resource loader. So we can embed resources directly in the binary. So yeah, loads of stuff. I use GCC, but I use GCC trunk. Like I built, like I'm pretty bleeding edge. So GCC 16.01 or whatever it is, 16 whatever, has contracts and reflection in. That hadn't released when I started doing this project, so I've been building GCC from trunk, and I've continued building GCC from trunk as well because there's a few bugs in GCC 16. But yeah, GCC 16 is, so GCC 16 above is pretty much the only way to get those features at the moment. I no longer work in an industry which enforces stuff like MISRA and stuff like that. So I must admit, it's actually quite liberating to not have to do stuff like that. I understand why places have it. I don't really have much of an opinion on it. Like if that's what you have to do for your code to be compliant, then that's what you have to do. But it is a pain. What was I doing? I was in debug renderer, wasn't it? Okay, right. So let's just see if this does what I think it does. Connor, hello. You've not missed much. We've just been gassing. Just been producing shorts. Okay, so hopefully now this has nothing, and then when we click average your body, there we go, we get the buttons. So this obviously won't do anything, but after we add more, we get the buttons. Hopefully you can kind of see that. So now we need to use that to influence the game. So this, ooh, hang on, steady. So rigid bar, debug renderer. I think now we need to be able to have a selected rigid body, and then if we select that, then we can do other things with it. I did build GCC again earlier for a different project because I wanted a Docker image to build something Linux native, which I realized I didn't have because all my stuff is set up to cross-compile for Windows. Let's do rigid body handle. Okay, so now so this is a variant. So this is a sum type in type theory, not a product type. No, it's a product type in type theory. So it can hold any one of these, including an empty state. And this is how in the debug renderer I basically assign the thing that is currently selected, and this is how I handle that different things might be selected. So an entity might be selected, a light might be selected, and now a rigid body might be selected. So I should be able to do, if this was clicked, then Is this gonna, if I'm iterating through this, is this gonna, no, because I've already got a pointer to it, so that's fine. So I think I can do selected entity equals handle. And then probably break. There's no point going through the rest of them. I'll try and build this up bit by bit and check it as we go along, because otherwise I do have a habit of writing a lot of code and then trying to build it and then be like, right, well, this is this. Oh, unused function. He thinks there's an issue with a header file somewhere. Cannot convert. Okay. Here we go. Look, you can see here, std variant monostate entity pointer point handle. Oh no, wait a minute. No, original point handle cannot convert that. Render 700. What are we doing in line 700? Is this the? You did not select entity and not. Oh, okay. What's selected entity then? Oh, that's just, yes, you're so right. The selected entity was a local variable I was using for iterating it, for figuring out what was inside the variant. I suspect I'm. Oh, hang on. Have I got a helper method somewhere which takes this variant? Here we go. Okay, that's okay. What I'm going to do now is am I? So this is some boilerplate chuff that I've got in order to facilitate making some of this debug rendering code a little bit easier. So I wonder if it uses. I think it might use reflection. Oh no, does it reflect? If it's me, it's probably reflection. Anyway, I have a bunch of structs that when you render that struct, it knows what to do with it. So if I want to render like an add entity button, I construct this add entity and hand it over to the code, and it automatically generates the. Oh no, it probably doesn't use reflection. Actually, it probably just uses function overloads. Anyway, I've digressed. The problem is that all these variants now need to be updated. Now you could use a using, but these are all at the top of the function in an anonymous namespace, which means the only way to keep them in what you would normally do is you'd be like, this is a pain, right? Using selected variant equals std variant, blah, 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 right? And then you could use this type everywhere, assuming I spelled it right. The problem is that I want this to be internal. I don't really want this to leak out, but there's no way of me using this at the top of the implementation file in an anonymous namespace because I have no access to the internals at that point by design. So I think I'm just going to have to suck it up and just repeat it. It's not the end of the world. Okay, so let's do point light handle. Then we go UFPS rigid body handle, and then we can just do n dot ne dot. Okay, let's give that a try. And because I'm not using visitor, preempt my point, because I'm not using, because debug code is not like, it's not code I particularly care about at the moment, which is, I've just been just doing wherever I handle it like this. So we use visitor in main for handling input events. Is the whole project built with a single target? I mean, like Unity target? No, it's separate object files. If that's what you mean. Or I guess, what do you mean by target? Do you mean like target architecture? Do you mean like translation unit? So now I can do this. So selected rigid body equals rigid body handle selected. Okay, so this will get us a pointer to the handle, which is cheap to copy anyway. And now we can do I think we want to do some sort of gizmo on it, right? So where do we have, I think we want this. So let's just go for broke and do this. So const auto rigid body equals services physics system dot rigid body star selected rigid body, something like that. So no, the architecture is there's basically only 3 output, 4. There's only 4 kind of artifact, like final artifacts from this. There's the resource packer utility, which I don't know, you may like is required, but not really. It's just a tool. There's the game entirely as a library, so everything goes into the library, and then there's an executable which just drives that library, and that really just has the main stuff which sets up the scene, which loads the resources, sets up the scene, does everything up, and kind of sets up the render loop. So that's kind of, and then there's the final one is a test executable which links against the library in order to test it. That's a good question. Like, if you're coming from another language which you're experiencing, you want to try C++, I would definitely consider writing something you are kind of comfortable writing in C++ in that original language, so C#, and trying it in C++ to try and give you a reference point, give you something to compare and contrast against. Then you can kind of ask yourself questions like, what was easy, what was hard, what was easier, what was nicer, what was more painful, that kind of thing. So pick your favorite C# project. I always, when I'm learning a new language, I always like to do either a ray tracer or some sort of TCP server. I think those kind of give you a good broad range of things to play around with. This might not like this bit of code exactly, because services, which is our use of the service locator pattern, which allows us to basically globally register things that we care about, like for instance the physics system. It's just global singletons with extra steps. Uses contracts, which ClangD, the LSP tool I use, doesn't understand yet, because I'm way ahead of that in terms of functionality. So unfortunately, we do get a lot of like spurious red errors in the IDE in NeoVim here. It's just something we have to accept, because I will not let the tool hold me back. I'm not going to compromise on the C+ features I want to use because Clang hasn't caught up yet. But also this could just be wrong. I might have just inscribed the runes wrong here. Right, so we've got the rigid body. So this will be a optional ref. So I think we want to do if get the optional by value. If we have the rigid body, then do this. Okay, just another layer of indirection. And then this becomes const auto rb equals rigid body And then we should be able to do, if I can remember what rigid body looks like. This does offer a position. It doesn't have the... I think this needs to get a transform, because I think that's what Imguismo wants, is the full 4x4 transform. So let's do auto transform, const transform. And then we can do 21G yank rigid body, FT rigid body. How am I going to get this? I got the... I don't actually store the world transform because I'm trying to not store too much extra state, but I think I can just query it from Jolt. But I should be able to just get it from Jolt, right? So I should be able to do like const auto Jolt transform. Like, so what? If Jolt is already storing this, there's no need for me to store it as well. Get world transform. So that's going to be a what? A Jolt matrix. An RMAT44, sure. So is that a reference? No. Just a mat44. Okay. So I'm going to have to convert that into my matrix to then return as a Jolt. So what? I'm going to shoot for RVO here. I'm going to return that to Jolt that. So if we look at our transform takes a matrix here, right? So we can construct our transform representation over a matrix, right? So type deduction there, that will try and construct the return type transform using the curly brace initialization on this argument. This argument will return a Jolt. So, but get world transform will return a Jolt object. So I have these two Jolt helper functions. So what I need to do is just implement this because I don't think I've done this yet. So let's do inline auto to Jolt UFPS. That's... Oh, it's too native I want. Sorry, I want too native. But it's fine. It's the same thing anyway. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. It is. I've just seen it. To native const je peux mat 44 m to my matrix 4. See how this goes. Right, what does this give me? Is it giving me anything good? In fact, actually, that should just be map proportion. Let's I'm going to buy them. I bought all the assets so far. I'm not an artist. I won't pretend to be an artist. I don't want to waste my time trying to pretend to be an artist. I'm just going to... One of those things, I'm just going to throw a bit of money at the problem. So you can slow that from floats. That's fine. But can I get... Is there like a dot data? These are all statics. Don't care. Don't care. Here you go. What's... It's so close. Get float component. Oh, come on, one of these has gotta give me a float array. there's no way you can't not get. Oh, come on. It's a trivial type. You know what that probably means. I could probably bitcast it. Is it roll call major? Oh mate, roll. Just gonna roll the dice on that and hope for the best. That is a great question. Also, it doesn't like this either, which I'm kind of surprised at. Are they different sizes? What is it actually storing internally? It's storing 4 VEC4s, and unless this has some padding for SIMD, column major, which is the same as ours. Or does that just mean columns? No, it will be column major if it's storing columns. That's fine. So I should be able to bitcast this. What am I missing? What am I missing? I thought it just took them both by a reference. It does. Curacao and Curacao. I'm like 95% confidence this should work. What's the actual compiler say? Oh, is Matrix 4 not trivial because it uses a stud array? That would make it trivial though. Into native function train return type not declared with the auto type specified. Oh, hang on. Have I just been stupid? Oh, mate, I don't think that's gonna work. I think that's gonna work. So we're on to a winner. Does that mean I could probably bitcast all of their types back and forth and just be const expr bish bash bosh, and then they could be, the actual methods could be const expr themselves. I wouldn't have to inline them. Mate, hang on. Thoughts are happening. I think we're gonna have to try this. I think big things are happening. Okay, so this has failed. I can already tell this has failed to match something because it's saying candidates, right? So what have I failed to do? So services were not declared in the scope. Did you mean services? Fix that. I don't care about that. Light, I've just forgotten to update some of the code. Don't care about that. What I care about is, okay. Okay, yes. Okay, fine. Let's finish fixing my terrible code. Why is it not like services? Is it service? Service. And then this is going to be transform is going to be rb.transform. I want all the things, and let's not worry about updating it for now. Let's just see if we can get this bugger to run. Always a side quest. Always a side quest. Okay. Has no member trans. No, that's not going to work. It has to be. I have to actually convert it back to a matrix. That's a little bit lame, but honestly, for this kind of code, I'm really not that fussed. Why was I const casting in the first place anyway? That's kind of terrifying. I do remember that being some weird sticking point when we were doing it before, and I was like, it's the debug render, who cares? Just const cast it away. Now yes, okay. Ooh, hello, what have I done here? Now I need the .data, and that's going to need to be const casted away, I reckon. I might have to relook at the span, because there's no reason for that to be const. I reckon we could improve this. I'm not going to do it now, but I reckon data. I reckon we need to have a non. We need to do the deducing this trick. Do I just do that now? This self. And then do using span type equals std conditional t based on std is const v std decay t. Nope, because that would remove the const. It's std. It's remove reference, isn't it? Ooh, shit. What the hell happened there? Remove reference t self. Side quest. Give me a second. Then that will be std. So if it is const, I want std span const float. If it's not, I just want a std span of float, and then return span type self dot elements self dot elements plus size of self dot, no, not size of, the range's size of self dot, no, I mean, it just wants, hang on, I'll get there in a minute. Std range's size, because that's an array, isn't it? Self dot elements, something like that. I might not be able to use that. Actually, it might have to be that. Anyway, sorry, I've been ignoring you all because as I try and construct my most outrageous code. I think that's right. Why is this split on a new line? I hate that. Okay, thanks. Absolutely hate that. No, you can't be doing that. Let's do it the proper way, which would be this. This, and then put in I suspect that's splitting it because I've misbalanced the brackets somewhere. I don't think so. Okay. Basically, I want to return a span, and that span can either have const elements or non-const elements. And if I'm calling .data, that should really only return. That should return a const span if I'm called on a const object, and non-const if I'm called on a non-const object. I want the best of both of those. I don't really want to write that code twice. That sounds terrible. What I'm not trying to do is write all this template horror. Does it need at the end? Well, this is just this isn't a function invocation. This is a alias for a type. Underscore t means it is the equivalent of this, right? So it just is a type alias, and then that's why I can construct that here. Chord 5 now available. That's exciting. I don't have like a bajillion pounds to spend on it though. You can make span type a concept instead of using in your case. Well, concept is just for could I make it a... Well, no, because I still need a type, right? Because I need to construct something based on a type. I can't construct something based on a concept. If I was using this to effectively as like a modern Svine, right? If I was using this to remove overload sets, then yeah, I probably want it as a concept. If I was accepting that, I might want it. But I think I still need a type here, right? Second one, too many of that. Well, no, because doesn't that second one... No, I think those match. Anyway, let's just see where this doesn't work. This could be wrong, in which case I'll just const cast it away, but... Oh, it's looking good. Oh, first time crushed it. Absolutely nailed it, mate. That's outrageous, that. Okay, so now I can do data to my heart's content without having to, which means I could probably remove these, question mark. Oh, here, interesting. I'd already converted it to a matrix 4. I should probably do that to keep that consistent. And as much as we like a data.data, I think... Oh no, do I still need... I think I still need data.data there. Yes, I do. But I think now... I can remove this horrible const cast. Ah, already feel better about that. This is where, like, it doesn't work, but at least the code is cleaner. I should have seen that sooner. That's kind of annoying. A little bit disappointed myself that I jumped into const cast without fixing the actual root problem. Okay, so this still moves. That's good. I can add the rigid body here. I can select it, and this doesn't do anything, but I can see that this is now selected on this. So I can select the whole object. Or I can select the... I'm not doing mouse picking for the rigid bodies because I think that would be really confusing. I think you always want to be able to select the entity, and then if you care really about tweaking the rigid bodies, I think you just find the one that you want. I feel like I want the one with like the bounding box on it. There's like a... Is it... Are some of these incompatible? There's like one where you can drag the corners of it. I thought it was bounds. Oh, that's an interesting one. Okay, so these contain all those. Oh, interesting. There is universal. Anyway, that's... Give anything go once. Okay, so let's now try writing this back. So now we need to write it back. So that means we have to go to rigid body, and then we're going to need to do set local transform. I think we're going to need to track the scale separately, just because of the way the parent one worked. We might be able to cheat, actually. Let's do... Let's do local transform equals... So that's the local transform. And then can we do set parent transform? I was wondering if we could just set it so that it basically recomputed everything for us. But I wouldn't... I'd have to store the parent transform, which I really don't want to do. I might have to... Can we just... Tricky, because I... But this uses local transform, so this has to update, right? I might have to store the parent transform and then just recalculate this, but basically change this line so that I then do it on my input transform times the parent transform. I don't think there's any other way to do it. There's no way of calculating the world transform without knowing what the parent is, because you have to composite them, right? Store transform plus local transform function and pass in. I'm maybe, but I don't understand that. I think I've got no choice but to do parent transform, right? And do... Let me just see if this works first, and then we can always optimize it later. So this is going to be, if we get down to the end, we'll set that, and then we'll do parent transform equals parent equals transform. Okay, strong exception guarantee. And then what we'll do here is we'll do local transform there, and then I think we can just do set parent transform, that would reset it back to itself, and then that will go through and recalculate all this stuff. Let's try that. I'm not sure I like it. And then we can do rigid. Oh, is it R? Oh, it can't be constant anymore, can it? rb.set local transform new transform, something like that. Yeah, I don't think you can deduce the parent transform. I think we're just stuck with storing it. I've never really used the Intel intrinsics or anything like that, because I've always just relied on the compiler to do my SIMD for me. That being said, I can see a future where we rewrite our maths classes using the new stud SIMD, and I know they're not perfect, but they are const expr. So I think having a const expr maths library which is fully SIMD'd would be pretty unique and pretty cool. Pretty cool. Add rigid body. Select the rigid body. Ooh, okay. Okay, so that moves that, and let's assume this is going to be like the floor. Okay. Oh, I don't know. I prefer this with the. Oh no. Okay, fine. Let's do that there. Sure, it doesn't like persisting that scale. Fix that. Fucking scales caused me jip in the air. Right, okay, let's just say it was the floor and it was like that. And then I clicked this, and then I moved it. Oh, yeah. Crushing it. So presumably this scales. Okay. And then we can select this. Whoa. What? Okay. Just flies off into the distance. Bye. Okay, well, next problem to solve. I don't think I trust this universal. I want to go back to what? I want to try bounds. But obviously, scaling is an issue. Inquisitor is just such an incredible library. I'm so glad it exists, because the thought of trying to do all that perspective magic and the handles and stuff, like, we'd just be here for, we'd still be doing it. Right. Okay, let's try again. Click here, add a rigid body. One might argue that adding rigid body should auto select it. Select the rigid body. Oh, hang on, something's gone wrong. Why is that? It's the equivalent of, so when I click on it's not a custom engine, it's a custom game, and I think that's quite an important distinction to make. I'm not producing like a reusable engine that you can kind of use. Everything is kind of slightly coupled to the game I'm making, and I'm only writing the engine-y bits that are required for the game. So it wouldn't be a fully featured engine, right? But you could, I mean, like, you could kind of think of it as a custom like rendering engine, I guess, or custom engine, but it's not a game engine, if that makes sense. Yeah, but this is all custom OpenGL stuff. All these widgets here are just imgui, which is a library you can use, which does all this. Right, so I think the issue I'm having here, yes, it's a game engine that will only ever make one game, this one. You could think of it like that. You can think of a one-to-one mapping with the amount of games it can make, which makes my life a lot easier, like so much easier. When we click on nothing, right, by design, by convention, we deselect everything. I'm concerned that clicking here, no, because clicking this button must swallow the click, because look, add rigid body doesn't deselect it. Clicking any of these, like changing the emissive strength, doesn't deselect it. Selecting rigid body deselects it. Why? It's not getting into, it's either not getting into here. Hang on, can I just run this under a debugger and see what it's doing? Okay, let me just see. Hopefully my Stream Deck is now set up to handle the situation where I want to switch between the game and the debugger, because I do not have VS Code set up in this new stream setup. So I'll be doing it and you will not be watching. Add rigid body, click it. Okay, we have broken here. Where? Here. Right. We are here. So rigid body, locals. Thanks. Locals is empty. Great. Thanks. Good job. Good job, code. Can I don't know what key bindings I have set up for this. I think it's, is it, oh, did I configure it to be x64 debug controls, or did I configure this to be Visual Studio debug controls? I can't remember. I think I'll just click the button like a loser. Right, okay, so we're in here, right? Locals continues to be empty, but I'm pretty sure I don't care about the registers. Ain't nobody got time for that. I'm pretty sure RB is a it's got Vim bindings in the prompt. That's great. Print RB. Can't decode OXF. P RB rigid body. Okay, fine. So I have a rigid body pointer. No, I have a rigid body. So that is indeed working. So where is it deselecting it? Because you changed selected. Yeah, but like, I've selected it here, haven't I? So this goes through, does that gubbins, does that gubbins, does that gubbins, sets the new transform, ends the scene, then we continue on our merry way, come back round again, break here, we're still selected. But it's something strange here because it's not rendering the gizmo around it. There's no click handler. Like, this is... Maybe it's just this bounds gubbins. Maybe it doesn't like whatever this bounds is. Let's go back to Old Faithful. If you want to get on the C++ Standards Committee, you need to join your national standards body. So in the UK, that's BSI. In America, it's ANSI. In whatever country your standards body is, they will then have almost certainly a subcommittee specifically for C++. You'll find them, you'll find the chair, and then you'll ask. It'll, either on their website, they'll have information how to join, or you'll reach out to them. They still have to like accept you, and I don't know what the process is for that. So I'm a member of the BSI, which means, and then so that's how I'm on the C++ Standards Committee. Average body, select that. Okay, this seems to be working. It didn't like that bounds gubbin. So when we move this, yeah, that's not great. I think this hack that we've done is not working for me. Like, just resetting this. Can we just copy all the code? What happens if we do this? What happens if we do parent transform times the new transform, right? Let's check the scale, apply the scale. Do we use transform anywhere else after this? World, and then at the end we were like, right, local transform is that. Do we just no update the transform though? Do we just not update the transform though and just set? I still need to set the world transform though. Like, I still has to physically move. add rigid body, select rigid body, move rigid body, select element, move. There we go. And then presumably I can scale this up and down and rotate. Then I can select this rigid. Whoa! What? Oh god, I hate this. Is it just applying the parent transform over and over again? Is it because... Is it... Biakuaz? I want this to be... local. I only want the local transform that comes out of this, right? Not the world transform? Question mark? Oh man, otherwise this buckle up. This is the next hour of our lives. I'm so glad. Like, I've been saying Biakuras for ages, just because it's out of habit. I'm so glad someone else gets the reference. It's old internet. That's some of the Newgrounds glory days. One button. Anyway, right. Add rigid body. Take the rigid body. Move the rigid body locally. Move the rigid body worldly. Am I? Local transform has only ever... Basically, local transform has only ever been... identity matrix, right? Well, scale of 1. Have I always just been applying these in the wrong order and I've just gotten lucky? Should this actually be transform times parent? Ooh, no. I just don't understand. Like, it should be every frame. It should calculate the same. Also, it's not. When it's selected, why is it? I've got many questions, and I will formulate them all into a coherent sentence in just a second. Add rigid body, select rigid body, move rigid body. Select rigid body. Move rigid body. Ooh, not quite, but I feel like it's because I'm multiplying them in the wrong order now, isn't it? Yeah, okay, fine. So the order was right. Its other logic is afoot. We are adding the local to the parent each time. I don't think I agree with that, only because I am calling set local transform, right? And whilst that, because the way ImGUI works, whilst that widget is selected, okay, it will apply it will call this function every frame, right? But that should be almost idempotent, right? Like the parent transform isn't changing. Okay. And the local transform, this should produce the same value every time, right? So why is this not? World transform should produce the same value. It's obviously not. But what is, I think we need to debug this. Let's do log debug transform parent transform. Like, what is that producing per? What is happening per frame with that? I'll be able to see the logs. You can't see the logs. All right, logs following. So it's not printing a lot at the moment. That's fine. So we're going to do this. Well, it's not printing anything because haven't got rigid body. So let's add a rigid body. Okay, select it. So whilst it's selected, I can see in the log that the matrices are remaining the same. They are both effectively identity matrix, right? There's a zero not quite. There's a zero translation, a 1 scale, and then a 0 rotation. A 0 translation, a scale of 1, and a 0 rotation for both. So if I move this, that is now doing the same. It's applying the same. The local transform and the parent transform. What was it? Is it local transform, parent transform? The new local transform and the parent transform are remaining static. Well, where do you go? Okay, so select him. Do I? No. Move him. Okay. And then when I select him, he's going to shoot off, isn't he? Because it's going to apply that translation again and again and again. So should I try and keep it so it's just a rotation? Okay, so line 35 is staying the same. The parent transformation is indeed static, but the local transform, why is the local transform changing? Why is this function being called with a different value each frame? It's because line 29, we return the transform. So that must be changed. So what's caused this to change? On the first call to set local transform after we've changed the parent, we might do, but I don't think that's the issue. I think I'm just trying to. So this, on the first time we call this, right, this parent transform will have changed since it was last invoked, right? Which means we are applying it again. Oh, Christ. Yeah, okay, fine. So we've already updated. Is that right? Because we're caching it. I'm going to have to think real hard about this one. we move it to the right. Parent transform gets updated. Okay. Parent transform calls this. Blah, blah, blah. Updates the parent transform. So the parent transform now says, oh, in the entire world space, you are now one to the right. But we've also already moved your world position one to the right. So after the call to set parent transform, everything is moved to the right. The local transform is still the same. We then say, okay, right, local transform now needs to be up one. Okay. So the final transformation needs to be move to the right and then move up. I don't understand, because this calculates the absolute world transform. So this should here be the accumulation of it going right and then up, right? And then you multiply them together, which gives you the composition of them. And then you do all the gubbins where you set it. So why is that applying the same transformation over and over again? Is it because... Okay, hang on. Thoughts are occurring. Is it because... Oh no, we do... It does have the... This does need to be world. We do pass the world transform in here. So this will be updated. Moved. Because this... It's because here. This is world space. We update it in world space. We then set it back into local space, which will reapply. So local space now has the world space transformation in it, which is why it keeps replying over and over again. Oh, fuck. We're going to have to remove... Oh, that is really... Well, that's what I thought local would do. I thought local would just give us the local... I'm going to have to look this up. Actually, can I just see the source code? How commented is it? Mode. What does mode mean? What I want to know is I want to know the delta that I've applied to it. Local mode. Great, thanks. Great, thanks. I'm glad the cube view is patented by Autodesk. What's view manip? I feel like manipulate. I feel like this is... Oh, yes, I know which one you mean. Yes, thank you, yes. What can I get out of this? Bounds, snap. Oh, hang on, what's this delta matrix? Hang on a minute. Don't let me down him, Gizmo. No sign of the shrew, by the way. I think he may have expired, unfortunately. Okay, right. I'm feeling confident. I found the secret make it work argument. Add a rigid body, select the rigid body, move the rigid body. Oh, it's fighting me. Why is that resetting? What have I changed in rigid bot? Unless that should be now local? I feel like I'm guessing a bit here. I don't really like to guess, but also I don't really... It's been a long time since I've sort of formally looked at this kind of maths. Someone realized the other day, I've now lived more of my life with A levels than without A levels, which is kind of terrifying. Right. Oh, it wants to do it. It wants to do it, and then it's fighting me because it's obviously resetting it each frame. Indeed, Rand. Indeed. Right. What's going on here? Why is this causing me grief? I need to see what this. I need to see it with my own eyes what this delta is. And then let's go back to rigid body and just remove these. Oh, it's getting warm. It's getting warm. Okay. Average body. Scroll the logs. So when I go to select this, I'm seeing over and over again the identity matrix. That does change that. So that is indeed changing the matrix. I don't know if you can see the numbers changing. Like, presumably even if I rotate it. Oh, hang on, steady. Yeah. Why is it resetting? Why is that not... I have not, but that sounds interesting. Right, okay, hang on. The delta, what is the delta? That's not the absolute new transform, is it? Oh, I'm not even... Let's get the rigid body we've got first working before I think about removing it. Exactly, but I'm expecting to set the absolute local transform. So there's another step that needs to go in there. I think what I need is... Oh man, so much maths. It's hard doing maths in the UK because there's more than one of them. I've got no... I need to make the ergonomics of transform better. Like, I like the fact that it stores the components separately, but like doing anything with it always involves me having to cast it to a matrix. Which is just not ergonomic. Who's got the time? That feels like something I can do off stream. There are streams on like me designing all the maths class how I want them to be designed with like const expr and like sort of various tricks around not being in non-explicit constructors. I feel like no one's missing out if I just do it again for like the third time. All right, click that, select the rigid body. Right, select this. Give him a wee little rotate. Select him back. Can we rotate him as well? Oh, god damn it. I thought I was onto a winner there. Where's he going? Okay, can't rotate. Get in there. Can we scale? Nope, he goes off to infinity. Okay, right. I bet. Oh, does this? Let's go back to this. All right, because I was definitely guessing with that. Close, so close. It's obviously something to do with the maths of it, where translation is fine, but the others are not. Could be multiplication order. Could be you apply them in the order that we want them to happen. Like you want parent first, then local. So I would assume I want local first, then delta. Right. Oh, this is tantalizingly close. Select the rigid body. Move him or her. Move them there. Click him. Give a little rotate. And then select rigid body. And then... Okay, he can move. Fine. Oh, so frustrating. We could try swapping them. Gotta get this done today. Like this is so close to being able to get to the point where what I really want to do is write the character controller, because then that's when it's going to feel like an actual game. This is frustratingly close. I'm making a mess, mate. Right, select this. Add the rigid body. Move. Oh no, it moves the whole thing. Great. Well, my experiment's already buggered. Right. Oh no, something's gone wrong here. Oh no, that's fine. Interesting. The inspector disappears when I've got the rigid body selected. I don't think that's something to be aware of. Right, select him. Rotate. Select the rigid body. Oh, you were right. Oh no, wait a minute. This worked before, isn't it? It was the rotate. I mean, that's fucked, but at least it's not flying off. I mean, how often am I going to want to change the rotation of these things? Like, just make them all axis aligned and don't worry about it. Let's move him up here. Select him. He moves pretty freely. Can he scale? Nope, that crashed it. This is just a randomly growing bonsai tree to keep us entertained through long compile times. Yes, so I do think we need some sort of visual noise. Oh. I'm so close to just calling this and saying it kind of worked good enough, which is really not great. I might have to just slowly sit down and pass through the maths. It's not my algo. That's just a tool called C Bonsai, as in like the letter C, because I think it's written in C. I feel like this is kind of good enough, which is a little bit lame. So that's how can I scale? I need to be able to scale it locally. That is an absolute must. I have to be able to scale it locally. I can just keep adding more boxes to cover up any gaps I want, but I have to. So that's the global scale. So click add that. Oh, I think it crashes. I think it does scale. I think it just scales really, really quickly. I think it's just too sensitive. Yep, thank you for coming along. I'm also melting. Right, let's look at this. If we set this, and I think, like, if I just scale it just a little bit, it does work. It's just really sensitive. Well, this is ergonomic. I really look forward to doing this 1,000 times to the level. Whoa! Can't be too careful. Whoa! Absolutely hate this. Floor, got a floor mate. Done it. Completed it. I may have to just introduce scaling steps or something. I just don't know why it's going so far. I feel like that is just me not understanding Imguismo, and I can probably fix that. So can I might want to rotate this, right? So let's say I rotate this to like 90 degrees. That seems like a thing that I would want to do, right? Okay, so that's now scaled there. And then I would come along and be like, okay, well, this is now wrong, so I need to move this. So I'm trying to go through the workflow. I'd select rigid body, and I'm just going to like drag. Whoa. Hello? That's not how. Do I want local then? Am I, now that we're just guessing is the problem? Do you know what I mean? I'm just sort of like, I've got like a few levers and I've convinced myself that there's some combination of them that makes this all work. Average body. Select rigid body. Move rigid body around. Okay. Take him. Rotate. Select rigid body. Whoa. Yeah, that's not great. Oh. That's true. Yeah, I think what we'll do is I'm going to commit this up in like as a broken thing, which I'm not a massive fan of, but it needs must. And then we're going to have to start thinking about serializing this because that's going to be another massive can of worms. Yeah, basically. I assume there's some ancient rune I'm missing. Yeah, I wonder if I'm probably just driving this wrong. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm probably just driving this wrong. Because I think the issue fundamentally is that I'm giving it a world transform, and I only want it to be. What I was saying. What's if we let me just try this. What if we do local transform? Like, I, average body. So this should probably work okay because everything's the identity. So the handle is. See that there is that is exactly what I want. Why are you not using AI for help? Because knowledge must be earned through hard graft. And what would I have learnt if I asked the Oracle for the answer? Also, part of this stream is just a shared and combined suffering. Okay, so if I move him up and I give him a little rotate around, and now I select the rigid body again, it's not quite right, but it certainly is. This is much closer to what I want it to be. Like, that scaling is absolutely fine. It's just now this is all messed up, right? The axes are swapped. But if I switch back to this, everything stays absolutely fine. Scaling does crash it, but what's new? So does this? So is this where I say this is actually a local transform because I'm now giving it a local transform? No, because the camera transform is needed so it can render it. That's just so it can work out where it needs to draw the lines. So you have to. The camera transform is pretty much required, otherwise it won't render it. Which I'm saying is like it's a really clever tool. Like you just give it a camera and say, "I'm looking over here. Like here's a transform matrix. Can you add a Gizmo?" Okay, right. So let's select him. So this currently works fine. All right. We select him, rotate him around, and then go back to the rigid body. It's anchored in the wrong place. Oh, yeah, it's just. See what I mean? Like this is. The rotation's off as well. But I can scale it, and then I can do this, and then I can move this around, and then I can move this around. Was it local too? I mean, like, it's local origin, I guess. See, I'm wondering if we need to do something with the inverse parent transform. I think you might be right. I don't know what, because I can't say like the maths is particularly intuitive to me. Let's take a step back. In Gizmo, all it really does, right, is draw for you some handles around a transformation matrix, and then effectively allows you to mutate that. The fact that we're drawing something there is somewhat irrelevant. All it really does is provide you some handles for manipulating a matrix, right? So what matrix am I trying to manipulate? That is That is the question, right? I want to... I always want to do it in world space, right? I always want to take where that rigid body is, right, and move it. So if the parent has got it on its side and scaled up and moved over here, and I want to nudge it a bit across, I need to be able to move it totally in world space. And that's what this does, right? This gives it to me in world space. And then I say at the end of it, okay, what is the delta? What matrix transformation, after I've finished dragging it, or at the end of each frame whilst I'm dragging it, whatever, what is the transformation you did that took me from A to B? And then in my mind, I just apply that to the local transform, right? Because I'm like, okay, now when we calculate the world transform, take the parent, which is wherever it is, multiply that by the local, okay, which is its offset, multiply by the delta, which will give it the new local transform. Because this just sets the local transform. Right, am I going mad? Like, that seems like, I feel like that's what I want to do, right? I want the world transform, but it doesn't like the... So what does it not like? But but a delta is a delta, right? The delta is relative to the world transform, and it basically said, okay, you moved it 5 units to the right. And I'm like, okay, cool. Now the local needs to be 5 units to the right. Something like global transform equals local transform times parent transform. But the XY coordinates would change if we rotate the parent. Yes, I see what you mean. So do I need to... So is this delta times matrix that times matrix for inverse of RB dot parent transform? Strip that off. Is it something like that? This is going to explode outwards because I've not really thought the math through at all. I don't expose that, do I? Hang on. Okay, fine, that disappeared. What is going on here? Yeah, I think we're missing some combination of this. Whoa. What's going on? No matching function call for transform processes. Why is it not? Oh, hang on, error expected that before that on all that done. Oh, hang on, I see it. Yeah. I don't like the name. I don't like having getter functions with the get name in it because I think the get name is redundant. I think you can infer from context that you're getting it. That's my personal opinion. You are free to choose otherwise. It just means I have to write get a lot less. This will not work. Okay. Oh. And it's gone. Okay, I think that's the I do think this might be the thrust of it. I think I need to sit down and work through the maths in slow time. We're nearly done for today anyway, so let's commit this up and then we'll start thinking about some of the other bits we need to do. Okay, so get rigid bodies from entity. Return correct constness on span. Oh, hang on. I wanted to test that, didn't I? Let's go to Jolt. I wanted to see if I can make all these const expra. It depends whether they align them for these might be aligned for SIMD processes purposes. Resize of is different. Yeah, I bet this has a secret fourth member. Stored as 4 vectors. Oh, that's so annoying. Is there any way I can? Actually, there's no way I can get a vec3 out for this. Because I really like to do that. We do have a vec4, but like I don't know if I could. Ooh, so you're saying something like this, and then implicitly casting it to the vec3 because I think vec3 has a constructor for that. Do I not trust the compiler to optimize what? Oh, the .x.yz. It's just a bit of stunt C++, isn't it? This is a bit shown off at the end of the stream. Like it'd be nice just to write less code. I mean, pretty sure it looks okay to me. I'm going to leave that because it does have some transformation to do. But I think this can be const expra return. Nope, that can't be either because again, I don't have. I would have to hang on. Return the bit cast JPH vec3 vector4 vec. I don't think vector4 can be constructed from vector3 because I think I'd end up with a circular include. Okay, fine. So that'll probably have to stay. Maybe I do it for quat. 165. I mean, it probably can actually be const expert thinking about it. Like, it's just doing transformation types. I don't know if Jolt has const expert, but I guess the compilers just do a runtime anyway. It probably can't be const val. Didn't want to do that. Did not want to do that. Wanted to do this. Just check that that rotates. Yeah, that the center's gone. There's nicely anchored to that though. We'll get there. Okay. Okay, so const experize jolt helpers. Definitely don't want to be changing their code. That sounds like a nightmare. So let's do graphics. Quit start of add rigid body UI. This is first attempt to set local transform. Okay, a few minutes left. Someone else mentioned Box3D. Yeah, I've not looked at it. I absolutely will not be changing because I'm already invested in this, but it's cool. Like, it's always good to have another choice. I'm just going to have a quick go. I'm going to have a quick look through the serialization code because it's obviously not going to work for us. So if we go entity, we get entity description. So this is going to need to have a list of rigid body, which means rigid body itself is going to need to have some sort of description, and that's going to have, oh man, that's going to be an absolute pain because of the body ID and the body interface. Oh, because entity can be constructed from a description. Oh no, it can't. Oh, interesting. Other code drives it. That's fine. That's fine. So the physics body will have to have like take a vector of rigid body descriptions and just reconstruct them. And from that, actually, yeah, that's not too bad. I think we can do that. We could probably actually start mocking some of that out now. So we're going to have a description. I think it's just called description, isn't it? Yeah. And this is going to have, so we don't have any of the internal gubbins. We won't need the original shape because it's going to need to know what kind of shape it is though. It's going to need a shape description. Right. Because I don't have an abstraction for a shape, do I? Because physics. Okay, this is good just to mock out for our misery next time. Because we just do create box and pass in an AABB. So we're going to need an enum. Well, we might actually need, I think we might just need a higher level shape description, which does have a type. Yes, we will need a type. And then I bet we can't use a variant because I don't know how that's going to work with a reflection. Ooh, can we reflect out a variant type? Because we can. I need to clean up some of these. Some of these are a bit of a mess. We can have a concept which is variant, I guess. And then how would that work? Can you? Oh, right. Okay. Hang on. Right. I've gone down a rabbit hole now. Where's the reflection paper? think it got up to, is it R14? No, R13. Oh, no, that's a very P2296. So this is if you want to create your own variant type using reflection, but I don't care for that. What I want to do is list through, I want to reflect out variant members from stud variant. What was that? Variant size. There's variant size and variant alternative, right? So this will give you a meta stud. Okay, fine. Yeah, we can do that. I think you do this, right? You get the variant size. Okay, then we can use template. We can use the expansion statement with stud iota const expr to iterate through them, and then we can just query each one, right? Info. Assume that's the stud meta info object for the underlying variant. I'm a head floating in. Oh yeah, what happened? How weird. I don't know. Right, don't know what happened there. Apologies. Anyway, here, as I don't know how much you saw before I disappeared off into the void. I think we can query. I think we can reflect out the size of the variant, and then we can reflect out a stud meta info. Okay, for each variant type, which then will allow us to construct a stud holds alternative yes. Okay, I think it's going to look, I don't know if I'm going to do this now because it sounds like an absolute nightmare, but I think you're going to basically have template class T concept variant equals, I don't know, stud. How do I do this for optional? I think I have to, whatever, some concept that matches a variant. Like I don't know what it is off the top of my head. Okay, and then I think what you're going to do is basically come down here. So we want to serialize it. You're going to have something like auto do template variant T serialize const T obj, and then we're going to do const auto variant size equals stud meta variant size T, and then do template for const extra auto index in stud views iota 0zu size, and then we're going to do const auto element info equals stud meta variant alternative index T, and then do if stud whole if const expra stud holds alternative element info, splice that element info obj, then like, I don't know, got it. That might need stud There's some wizardry you have to do this. It's like std meta type info. I can't remember. There's probably a decal type in there as well somewhere. I can't remember the exact runes for it, but I think it wants something like that. Anyway, I think that might be why have I started writing this? Why did I think I need to reflect out a variant? What was my shapes, of course, shapes. This is the obvious solution for serializing shapes. Yes, because then we can have a variant of shapes or shape arguments. Because then each shape could have a description. The top level shape description would have a variant of all the sub shape description. Yes. Now I think I need enum as well, right? Oh, I'm not gonna. But yeah, I'm obviously not gonna switch on the enum to do this. Obviously, I'm gonna reflect this out. Interesting. Okay, food for thought. That might be fun to do. That is gonna absolutely explode my compiler. The compiler errors out that because apparently I'm just gonna update Vim. Cool. Okay. Okay, fine. Leave that in there as a reminder for next time. Okay, don't go anywhere. Goodies. Wait. First new month. Wait. I said wait. Stream for push. What was that? I've already forgotten the number. 44. Okay, right. God, right. My brain is absolutely frazzled. I will maths really hard before next stream. Right, there's 5 free gifts for the YouTubes. Congrats. Spend it well. I have 0 plans for this month's video. I know it's only the first, but it still only gives me 30 days to do a video, and I have 0 idea. So it'll probably be quite late in the month for the next video. But I'll think really hard about something and come up with something. I managed to do a video pretty much every month since I started. I think I might have missed 1 month when I was working on the de novo video because I just needed a bit of extra time. But yeah, come along to Discord. It's great. We will have a good time. I think I'm done. I think that's it. Thank you all much for keeping me company. As always, it's been an absolute pleasure spending my evening with you. And we'll do it all again Sunday with more physics, I guess. We're close. We're very close. I'm just sort of hoisted by my own petard at the moment, but we'll fix the maths. Anyway, I'll see you all anon.